Well, I didn't even want to hit the record button this week because I just don't have hardly anything good to say about what I read. So I'd really be interested in hearing after this if you even want me to make Essential Issues Weekly content on a week like this. I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. Welcome to Essential Issues Weekly, where I talk about DC Comics 1 week after their release on the Ultra tier of the DC Universe Infinite subscription service. In each installment, I pick an assortment of comics to talk about as a DC fan and also explore what, if anything, they have to say about the essential issues of real life. Warning, full spoilers for everything that I talk about. Be aware this is your first and only warning that many spoilers potentially lie ahead. Right now, we're taking a look at comics originally released to the Ultra tier on January 15th, 2025, originally published December 18th, 2024. I read 10 comics this week, and most of them, it's not that I felt like all these were bad comics. They're just not of interest to me in terms of the style of writing. It was usually that things were a little bit too light and trivial, and I really like stories that have some weight to them or that have some connection to the ongoing DC universe, as opposed to like offshoot, this happened 10 years ago and doesn't affect anything today type of stories. So of the 10 books that I read, there's only 3 here that I really have any thoughts about, and not a lot of positive stuff. Maybe the one that I enjoyed the most, if I can say the word enjoyed, would be The New Gods #1. This is looking to take kind of a grounded angle on the New Gods, specifically Scott Free and Barda, who have been married in the comics for a long time. Well, now, this was news to me, they have an infant baby, and while Barda is recovering on the couch, Scott is trying to figure out how to take care of this baby and just kind of do those kind of Mr. Mom things that are way outside of his wheelhouse, it seems like. And I appreciated that kind of quiet opening and personalizing them. The New Gods can sometimes seem so distant and so out there and unrelatable. And so I'm encouraged by this starting point. And I think Scott Free is the one of the New Gods that is potentially going to be the most relatable. I've not spent a lot of time reading books about the New Gods. I really like Darkseid as a villain, but everything surrounding Darkseid, his various lieutenants and the good New Gods and all that kind of stuff, they just tend to not be of interest to me. Some of it is the visual design I'm not really into, but anyway, I'm curious where this series will go, given that it's opening. And there's an interesting kind of premise, and that is that Highfather, who seems to not be acting like himself, has ordered Orion, the warrior of the New Gods, to kill an infant or a child that is supposed to be appearing on Earth and is going to be a new god. And this is a very strange order to Orion, so he goes to Scott and says, listen, you need to get this kid and escape with him. You're the only one that I know of that can escape me, potentially, once I'm on a mission. And so I am really having trouble with this directive, but I don't dare disobey it, just out of my love and honor or whatever for Highfather. And so that's kind of the dilemma that we're in. Initially, I thought, oh, well, what if it's Scott Free's kid? But they seem to have a reveal at the end of the issue, unless it's a red herring, that we're talking about a different kid. So anyway, I like the internal conflict for Orion and Scott being kind of thrown into the mix, while he's also dealing with some very grounded type character stuff. So I'm curious, but not riveted as of reading The New Gods #1. Next up is The Question All Along the Watchtower, which last time I said I thought it was missing a lot of the potential of its premise for Renee Montoya, the Question, to be kind of acting as sheriff or detective for matters on the Watchtower, where virtually all of DC's superheroes now have a room if they want one. I like the idea of her kind of being in charge of watching the Watchmen, as it were. And, you know, when there's some criminal activity potentially, or questionable, no pun intended, activity among the superhero community, that there's someone holding them accountable. I really like that premise, but issue #2 basically confirms that not only are they not really going to lean into that as much as I would like, they're going to be dodging it almost entirely. Because what we're seeing on security footage of these various happenings that seem to involve heroes doing nefarious deeds almost immediately is giving all the signs that They're not in their right minds. They're being mind controlled and stuff like that. And I understand that you don't want to corrupt heroes in the DC universe. So take an unused hero, a hero that hasn't been touched in a long time, give them some focus, give them some shine, have them go down a dark path. I think that would still be an interesting story. And, they can be rescuable as a hero. They can be restored as a hero at some point if you really feel that they must. But, this as it is, I'm just like, it's just another tired out mind control story, or it's things are not as they appear, and it's just a matter of like, I wonder who the villain is this time that's doing all this behind the scenes. But like, the story is just not engaging me, unfortunately. So I don't even know if I'll give this one another issue. And then Wonder Woman 16 is the last one I'll mention. This one, written by Tom King. I really enjoyed the start of Tom King's run, but lately, as soon as he started this device of having the Sovereign, the big villain of this current story arc, narrating throughout each story, there's something about that writing device that I don't like. I want to be focused on the characters, the protagonists, and what's going on, what's in their minds, what's driving them. And this issue just, man, it certainly isn't a return to focus on the lead character. It totally diverts. Wonder Woman is barely in this issue at all. In fact, the Wonder Woman allies, like the Wonder Girls and stuff, they are barely in this issue too. The main character is Detective Chimp of all DC characters. If you don't know, it's a particular pet peeve of mine. I understand that some people are not going to understand this. I strongly dislike talking animals. In fiction, I find them to be silly. I associate that device with movies and stories made for children, and I just have a lot of difficulty buying into it and taking it seriously. And they're certainly playing up Detective Chimp for comedy, not like ee-ee-ooh-ooh comedy, but he's written like Columbo. In fact, I'm almost positive that the writing of this character in this issue, it was very much inspired by the classic TV show Columbo. So I'm just mystified by this choice, and I can't wait to get back to a story that's about Wonder Woman. She's been so in the background for a while now, with her supporting cast kind of taking the lead, and of course Sovereign narrating all the stories for a while. There's also kind of a weird turn toward the end. There's a backup story that kind of shows that the history of the Sovereign as the secret king of the United States of America. And Jimmy Olsen does this investigative expose on the Sovereign and his history. And among the things that kind of turned up is, well, first off, this really sealed the deal for me. Okay, he is a physical human being. He has a human mortal identity. If that was mentioned before, I forgot it. But like Henry Charles is his name, or is it Charles Henry? I think it's Henry Charles. And he's from some wealthy family that I'm not clear if he's supposed to be immortal or has super longevity or something, but he's really old, been around for a while. And his family line, I guess, has been the secret kings of the United States of America. And in Jimmy's findings, we discover that he actually had a sister who was intended to be the Queen of America. But the Sovereign, as he's known, is so disgusted by women, and we've already kind of seen that idea being played out. He's like beyond chauvinist. He's like male dominating, women oppressing, suppressing, all the pressings that you could do to women that are bad. He does. And so he stole the throne, as it were, the secret throne of America from his sister, and took it himself and has been, ruling on it for decades now. And I was trying to figure out, what am I supposed to feel about that? Am I supposed to feel that like, oh, really, it's a woman that should be the secret monarch of America? Is that the message there? And I'm like, well, I don't think there should be any kind of secret monarch of America, male or female, but they're painting his sister as like this downtrodden victim of this whole situation, and that she really is the rightful queen of America. I'm like, what are we talking about, rightful queen? What do you want me to feel like as a reader here? I think there's probably something there going on that's this is a guess. That's related to kind of like some feminist ideals that they feel like would make sense for a Wonder Woman comic to be about, to be playing with. And I've certainly been picking up on some of those things here and there, sometimes subtly, sometimes not subtly at all. But I guess the one thought that would come to mind when we're talking about, okay, what are kind of the real world issues that are maybe popping up here? If I were to try to find something in this issue, it would be that the correction to women being undervalued, suppressed, oppressed, and the other presses, the corrective to that is not then to make them dominant. That doesn't fix the situation. What fixes the situation is for there to be actual equality. And I think sometimes there can be this mindset of, well, we need to make up for all the years that this certain people group or demographic or whatever were mistreated by giving them this sort of dominance and super treatment and stuff like that. And I think that there are just way too many examples of that tactic in trying to quote unquote make things right, balance the scales of justice, however you want to describe it. There are just way too many examples when that tactic is employed and you end up just victimizing other people. You know, two wrongs do not make a right, as they say. That's not even biblical, but that is nevertheless true. So anyway, a confusing kind of like little thematic note at the end of Wonder Woman 16, but really the issue I had was way too much Detective Chimp and where the crap is Wonder Woman? Can we please have Wonder Woman back in the book about Wonder Woman? All right. Okay, have to insert here, if this was not obvious, I almost forgot to mention, so this is like a post-recording edit here. The ring selection for this week, of course, is black, because I just feel dead inside after reading these comics. There was nothing life-giving, there was nothing exciting, there was nothing that made me hopeful or hungry for more, nothing. Just flatline on the heart monitor after reading the comics for this week. I guess that's all that I have to say about comic books for now. I would like to hear from you guys. Do you want me to put up an installment of Essential Issues Weekly like this when there's just nothing that I'm really excited about and don't have any really great things to say about? I don't like making negative content, and so part of me was just like, oh, I'll just skip it this week. But then I thought people might be wondering, where is it? Why didn't he do it? You know, and I'm calling it Essential Issues Weekly. So any feedback you have on that, on what you think I should do, would be welcome, and I will take it into consideration. Also, any comics that I talked about or didn't that came out with this batch that you have some thoughts on, love getting those thoughts from you as well. Also, hope you check out christiangeekcentral.com. Tons of content made for you there as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. For more chat about geek entertainment, answers to your questions, and news from the wider world of Christian geekery, get the Christian Geek Central podcast today on iTunes and other podcast services.